Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let's talk about China-Russia cooperation real quick. And I'm going to address this to Audrey. China and Russia seem to be using similar gray zone tactics when attacking countries in Europe and Asia, including subsea cable cutting, influence and information manipulation campaigns, and airspace incursions. To what extent are China and Russia's militaries and political leadership directly collaborating on these type of attacks, or are they just copying each other?
Thank you, Representative Elsie, for the question. I think we certainly see a high degree of alignment in Chinese and Russian interests. So this is not to say that, they don't have their disagreements, and I think at times they are wary of each other. But by and large, I think China is aligned with Russia in wanting to see sort of destabilization and weakening of democratic, free, and open societies, including the United States and the European Union. And one, Representative Elsie, you've outlined sort of a range of tactics that they've been using, and I think we see a lot of synchronization, especially in the strategic narratives that they're using on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And sort of amplifying, echoing a lot of disinformation that Russian state media has been propagating. I think we also see China sort of going beyond that, where not only is it sort of amplifying and spreading disinformation that is meant to sow discord and sort of expose the fissures and sort of vulnerabilities in democratic societies. I think China, in my work, I found that Chinese state media is actively sort of trying to push the message of what I call autocratic advantage, sort of highlighting the performance advantages of authoritarian regimes, not calling it autocracy per se, but sort of highlighting some of the benefits and advantages that having a strong man in power that centralization of power affords for the people of a country. And I think in my research, I found that actually has significant impacts on how foreign publics globally think about democracy and the degree of support for democracy. So I think we see an intersection where China is sort of not only trying to shape in the views of China itself, but also, I think, fundamentally undermining, support for democracy and accelerating democratic backsliding.
Thank you, Audrey. Anybody else want to address that? Go ahead, Valbona.
Yes, sir. So I think that China and Russia are strange bedfellows. However, they have shared strategic alignment, and it's mainly to counter the imposition to the United States in opposition to NATO, and that's very open in the narrative, where they repeat each other's narrative, but also to the liberal international order more in general. I think what the difference is between China and Russia is that Russia is a revisionist nuclear power seeking to undermine NATO and destroy the current international order, while China, which is the primary long-term competitor also of the United States, aims to use the global institutions and reshape and take advantage from those institutions. I think what's important, especially when it comes to the European Union perspective also on China, which is the topic also of conversation today, is that one of the main trends that has changed perceptions in Europe has been really the support that Beijing has given to Russia for its war in Ukraine, and that has raised awareness in the European Union about the security challenges. China, at the same time, is a competitor, a partner, but also systemic rival, and that part of the systemic rival has increased of its importance, especially after the shattering of the security architecture of Europe after the invasion of Ukraine. The No Limits Partnership has strengthened that, but also the economic cooperation between the two countries, because they need each other in the current stage. The Chinese officials have been very open that they would not like Russia to go down, even in talks with members from the European Commission. So it is very, very clear. We just need to be eye-opened and not to really apply sometimes mirror imaging on things that we think do not make sense, because they are very openly stating the obvious. So just in the last 2 years, they have met more than 40 times, President Xi and President Putin. That should tell us something.
Sure does. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to yield time to Chairman Wilson for 5 minutes of questions. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And indeed, witnesses, thank you for being here today. It's just so refreshing to have each of you here, and I appreciate the leadership of Chairman Elsie today to keep things moving well. With that in mind, Ms. Zanelli, Italy has become a shining example of working in the European Union and NATO. You can correct me, but I believe the current Mangione government is the longest serving out of 67 since World War II. What an incredible tribute that is. And additionally, I have a personal interest. My number 2 son was a doctor in Naples in the U.S. Navy, and I've got 3 grandchildren who speak perfect Italian. So our relationship is so positive. With that in mind, that's not true with other countries, and it's so sad to me that the success of Italy with the EU and NATO, and then we have countries that are just weak, almost complicit. Hungary, it's just the country that should have inspired everyone from the 1956 revolution now is bowing down to the people who drove over patriots there in Hungary. And then Spain. Spain's decision last August to trust Huawei with sensitive information, including judicial wiretaps, has underscored the threat China still poses to a unified, secure, and resilient transatlantic tech policy. How can we continue to disincentivize such tech partnerships that threaten to create hardware or train vulnerability to be exploited by the Chinese Communist Party?
Thank you very much, Co-Chairman Wilson. In Italy, under Prime Minister Meloni, the government has recalibrated, actually, over the last 4 years, its China policy by exiting the Belt and Road Initiative, which has been, one of the perfect examples of showing that, and strengthening its alignment with the United States and the broader transatlantic community. And I emphasize that because based on our research, the Atlantic Council, where we look at the current trends and if the European Union is waking up to the China challenge. What we have found out is that countries that have closer relationships with the United States, they have been going closer to the EU perception and to the EU policy on China, which the European Commission has a very, very serious policy on China. But unfortunately, as I was explaining in my opening remarks, there are so many differences inside Europe, and that makes EU policy very difficult. Some countries, such as Hungary, they have been the main recipients of foreign direct investment from China. In 2024, the majority of foreign direct investment that was arriving in the European Union actually went to Hungary, with some investment in factories of electric vehicles and other areas that have become really vulnerabilities also for a European market and the supply chains inside Europe. Going back to Italy, I will mention a couple of points that maybe should be a good example for other countries, what has happened in recent years. It's, of course, this blending of transatlantic loyalty with economic caution, because China is an important market also for Italy. I believe that should be also the guiding principle for other European countries. Rome has strengthened its golden power investment screening rules, so even going further, more deeper than the European Union investment screening rules, and has blocked or restricted acquisitions of strategic sectors, such as in areas such as semiconductors, robotics, and also telecommunication.